I'll just look at Facebook.
Namaste, everybody. Happy Sacred Sunday to those of you watching live today, Sunday, September the 5th, 2021. And welcome to any of you watching the recording. Whether you're with us live or watching the recording, I want to invite you to really drop in because we are so blessed to have the twin rays, Shekinah and Sananda, with us. And they're going to provide amazing wisdom. I've been fortunate to spend the last several days with them here in Ashland, Oregon. And I want to say that they're the real deal. They are truly examples of the divine human of the future. And I am going to say very little today. I really want to get as much from these two beautiful souls that we're blessed to be with. So I'm actually going to put the full spotlight on them, and I've asked them to lead a meditation and go right into their teaching for the day.
Thank you, beloved Scott.
Thank you.
It's been a joy. Yeah, it's been a joy to have you with us and dear Deborah. And today is more our pace. And Sacred Sundays is definitely our flow. So to begin, we just want everyone to just drop into their sacred heart space, really allowing himself to open up to all that's going to come through. We never plan anything. We always just keep ourselves completely open to the spontaneous expression of what's being asked, what's being needed in this moment. So just take a deep breath, breathing into the center of your heart, relaxing your shoulders, your jaw, your body. Just being really present in this moment.
Make a conscious choice to let everything go. Leave it outside. Imagine that there's a dome that you're inside of now with a great pyramid. And you have left all else other than your presence outside of it. And this dome, this great pyramid is created of white, radiant, brilliant light. And just before we really begin, take time to be in that space and feel your own presence right now.
And bring your awareness to that divine presence and opening yourself up for deeper insight, great downloads of wisdom, spontaneous and instant healings, activations. It's allowing your fields, your light body, your sacred heart, and all that you are as that presence, divine presence, to be receptive to miracles and blessings abound. Just feel your heart opening like a beautiful golden lotus. As you breathe in, feel that lotus within your heart just opening up. And attracting more golden nectar, golden light, expanding into this radiant dome, splendor of beauty, just cleansing and washing away all thoughts, all ideas,
All preoccupations,
letting it all go.
all identities.
Just being present with this moment and for whatever flows through. Just grounding that presence into your body, into the earth, to this space, this moment of eternal now.
Allow yourself to become ever more empty. Empty so that you give permission to become even more filled. Release even your name at this moment. Release all identification. Just be present in presence.
And when you're ready, take another deep breath into the center of your heart, that illuminated self. And open your eyes if they were closed. We shall begin.
Thank you so very much for that beautiful meditation. Welcome to all of our friends. We've got over 75 people in our Zoom room, and of course, many watching on Facebook, and also to anybody watching the recording. And I would love to just ask you to take it away with the wisdom you choose to share.
In the spirit of the topic of rejuvenation, sacred alchemy, the divine human, one's own ascension and self-illumination, we want to spend today just really acknowledging how divine your body temple truly is, and how interconnected, interrelated, interdependent it is with the entire cosmos. You are literally a microcosm of the macrocosm. And the journey of rejuvenation, cellular rejuvenation, longevity, ascension, self-illumination, it's really all the same thing, essentially.
And so, to begin to really understand the divine human and self-illumination and rejuvenation, we have to understand the way energies move within the vessel. Prana, apana, and the dielectric or primordial force. Now, for our students who have been with us for a long time, you know that prana is not something that will ever liberate, but the dielectric energy or the primordial energy is what creates and allows genetic liberation.
And so let's demystify this word primordial energy. Everything that you can see and perceive in life is electromagnetic energy. You're literally seeing waves within waves within waves that create the illusion of particles, and you see these particles. And so really what you're witnessing every single moment through your 5 cognitive senses is the electromagnetic energy. So that electromagnetism is what is dancing before your eyes in the play of lights. There's a third energy that is not vibrating. It's radiating, but it's not vibrating. There's a difference between radiation and vibration. And that radiation
is emanating
this still, pure, unborn light. It's not the light that you see with the naked eyes. It's the spiritual light. Science calls this dielectric energy, a dielectric current. We call it primordial because it's before the birthing, it's before the beginning, it's the very essence that creates life itself.
Prima materia.
And so that primordial energy is within your body. It's within your physical templates.
But it needs to be unlocked.
Yeah, there's certain seals within your physical biology, within your energetic fields, that once unlocked, you can actually experience the radiance of this energy. And this is, again, the unborn light of spirit. That energy is what frees the genetics. It's what frees and liberates the ancestry lines. We're going to speak a little bit more into that. But what it also does on the ascension journey, it actually restructures the cellular biology and your genetic template back to its original form, before there was any mutations or splices or dices where many different incarnations after incarnations through your ancestral tree, the DNA has learnt different information, experienced different life streams, and as an effect of that, the DNA has been shut down. You know, there's some are operating from just a 2-strand molecular structure of DNA. Most human beings are. But there's plenty more strands. In fact, it's infinite how much can actually activate. Mm-hmm. And there's a powerful energy and a sacred substance that actually activates that. When that activation happens, it rebuilds the telomeres. It rebuilds the way that the RNA, which is a signaling that signals to the DNA to actually unlock certain expressions, certain genetic expressions, changes the way the relationship happens between that intercommunication process. And this is where a lot of gifts start coming online. So this inner alchemic process is also a profound journey of not only self-illumination, but the psychic senses, the higher sense perceptions start activating as well on this journey. So there's a lot of boons, essentially. There's a lot of blessings.
This is the journey of the blessed being, truly.
Yeah. And as we started this call today, and we shared that your temple, your human temple, is a microcosm of the macrocosm. The entire universe is sometimes perceived out there, but it's also within you. It's also around you in your energetic field. And when you can tap into that latent power within, that spiritual presence within, and activate certain substances and secretions in your physical vessel, you become more attuned to experience the entire spectrum of reality, not just what you've experienced in your waking state, but different dimensions, or what we call densities, which are different frequency matter worlds in different domains throughout the universe or your multiverse. And so your instrument, your bodily instrument, is literally this powerful, it's the most advanced technology in the entire universe. It really is, but it needs to be activated. You need to go through certain activated processes in order to really harness the power of the energy what that lies within, because the very power that created this entire universe lies within you. And so that energy that can create and sustain and transform the entire expression of the universe is accessible within you.
And that's something that's important to understand about what we call the primordial energy, because it's just like planting a seed beneath the soils of the earth. It needs that darkness in order to grow. It needs that darkness in order to begin its evolution eventually into the light.
And let's demystify the word darkness. You know,
exactly.
Because this is a misconception as well about when one uses the term darkness or primordial, there can be a fear response of, aren't we all about light? No, of course. What we're talking about is a light that is unseen to the physical eye. So it's perceived as darkness, but it's not truly darkness. It's unborn light. You have to use your celestial eye, your third eye, your first eye, in fact, to actually see the illumination of that. And within that primordial void of all creation is the absolute fullness and radiance of illumination as well. They're one and the same thing. And this is actually directly inside your spine. Until you realize that the entire universe is within your spine, you truly haven't realized the totality of your own power, your own capacity to experience the full spectrum of your being. So we're going to back this up because we've shared our lots in just a very short period of time. And we want this to be also interactive. We want to answer questions. We really want many of you that are a part of this Sacred Sunday and joining the recording to really understand the divine potential for this divine human race. Not all are here to make that next quantum leap, but we are sure if you are listening to this, if you're here with us today, you've heard that call well before you incarnated to really activate and unlock the divine human instruments and return it back to what it originally was seated to be. Because the human instruments was originally the divine human. So that's already inside you, it's already encoded. And we're not just talking 5,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, we're talking hundreds of thousands of years ago when there's this planet has been seeded and seeded and seeded
over
again.
and over again.
And right now we're going through this activation cycle or an ascension cycle where the actual planet is also ascending its molecular structure. It's changing its grid system. It's changing the very way in which it's accessing different realities, different higher frequency matter worlds. And there is a golden age being born, but it has to be birthed within you first. And this is what we always teach. First, the golden age starts within. And that golden age is the golden age of truth. Truth illuminates, truth frees, and truth is love. And that true perfection of love. And that's sort of the foundation, that love for one's true self, a love for others, that love for all life, all sentient life. That love is the foundation of the pure heart that then allows access to really dive deep into the very potent potential that's within you. So love really is that.
Hello, dear friends. It appears that their signal, dear friends. It appears that their signal may have gone out. Deborah, can you call them and see what's going on? And I will kind of cover things. Welcome, everybody. Well, this might be a good time. They do have a choppy internet signal where they are. So I will use this as an opportunity to get some questions and some feedback from you. And welcome. It's a beautiful Sacred Sunday. And my gosh, what an incredible download we've been receiving from them. So we will hopefully be seeing them.
You're in that process and you'll come back on.
Yeah, so Deborah's calling them. On top of everything, I just had to sneeze. They will be, they're rebooting their computers. The twin rays will be right back. Don't go away. I see we've got 88 of you. You know, while I am waiting for them to come back on, a reminder that if you missed last night's Saturday Night Alive for the Global Peace Tribe, please go back and watch the replay. You can always find the replays on the Saturday Night Alive for the Global Peace Tribe page on Facebook, my profile page, the Love Coach Academy page, or our YouTube channel. And I just put the YouTube channel into our chat box here. And definitely what's most important is for all of you to register so we have your email addresses. We're going to be doing a lot more work with the twin rays. Deborah and I have been meeting with them, and we are very excited. We're going to be announcing some special classes and experiences with them very soon. So it's really important that you all go to globalpeacetribe.com and register. It's easy, and it's that way we'll have your email address. We don't give our email addresses out to anybody, your email addresses out to anybody, just for us. But you'll get weekly announcements about our upcoming shows, including what we're going to be doing with Shekinah and Sananda in the near future. So I'll also take a look to see. It is exciting, Scotty Satori says. It's very exciting. Deborah, my partner in Saturday Night Live in the Global Peace Tribe, and I have been visiting with Shekinah and Sananda, staying in their beautiful temple. And their temple is amazing. It's exquisite. So Alicia has a question. So thank you. That's good to know. I'll put the YouTube link in again right now. So I just put it in the chat box. That's the YouTube link that takes you straight to the Saturday Night Alive channel. And that's where we have all of our previous shows, all the Saturday Night Alives, different seasons, and then also the Straight Talks and Secret Sunday shows. Well, thank you, Sarah Jo West. Oh, you know what? Thank you for pointing out. I had it set to only hosts and panelists. Thank you very much. There we go. Okay. They're back. All right. Welcome back. I'll give everybody a chance to breathe a little bit. And so just to conclude, everybody, I did just put in where you can find the link to last night's show. We are going to re-edit it, so it'll be posted there tomorrow. And again, very important for everybody to register by going to the globalpeacetribe.com to find out all about what we're doing. And I am going to turn the full attention back to our wonderful guests, Shekinah and Sananda. Spotlight's back on you. Welcome back.
Thank you, beloveds. We're happy to be back again.
Yes, thank you for your patience. We sometimes fry electronics.
Our frequency blows things all the time. So we are going to pray that we can keep it for as long as this show allows.
Yes.
So to return to what was being said was, in order to, the body has what's called a fail-safe mechanism. Why? Because the power and the wisdom that is allowed within the vessel, that is in fact inherent in it, can only be accessed through love. But going back to what I was saying before we separated for a moment, this does not mean that one bypasses the realities of the world and says, oh, no, all is love and light. And no, it actually doesn't work that way. That's actually not how you get into the deepest core of your being. But it does in fact mean, and I can say this with absolute 100% certainty, because I've had to go through it. And that is to look at all of the atrocities that happen in the world and love them anyway through tears, through more tears and more tears,
Through
until
compassion.
you realize the great compassion.
Yeah, it's important to understand that divine love, perfect love, is that deep neutrality that you come into, that you just abide as pure presence, where all that unfolds, that plays out in the world, doesn't mean that you ignore it, doesn't mean that you don't have compassion for it, doesn't mean that you play out with your emotions about it. It means that you understand at the deepest fundamental level that life itself is, in fact, a miracle. Life is a precious gift, and When there's ignorance around life, you have compassion for those ones and you forgive those ones for they not know. They truly not know what they're doing, whether it's been cultural conditioning, because every single being is literally a product of their conditioning, whether it's past life conditioning, whether it's parental conditioning, societal conditioning. Yeah, ancestral, societal, cultural conditioning, religious conditioning. This
geographic conditioning.
Yeah, and that conditioning really makes and frames one's perception of life and builds their belief model of how they perceive life. And so you don't really know what they went through in their own karmic experience to actually have these actions. And when you don't judge things, you have deep neutrality and love. Now, this doesn't mean that you stop. You stop caring or considering others. It actually means that you show up in a greater,
it's the opposite.
In a greater radiance. You show up with deep mercy and compassion for all life. Now, getting to what we're speaking about rejuvenation and sacred alchemy, because your physical body,
love is the gateway.
Yeah, because your physical body is a product of your entire energetic field. Your light body is comprised of these different layers. You've got the etheric layer, you've got your emotional, mental layer, astral layer, or the astrological layer, which holds all the broadcast connections to all the stars or all the planets. And then you've got your causal layer. And then there's other higher layers that are about the macro and the micro divine self. We call it the atmic layer, which is sort of the divine spark, that divine interpersonal connection to the divinity. And then there's celestial layer, which is the macrocosmic expression of that divinity. And so when you understand that your entire physical body is built by your energetic fields, then you can understand that the subtle bodies is what goes from incarnation to incarnation to incarnation, that holds those records. And when you actually start becoming familiar with these energetic fields of intelligence around you, you start working with them and start integrating them into the physical biology starts responding differently. There's different responses at the biochemical level that interact with these subtle energy fields. And there's also a perfect divine plan that plays out in every single second. For example, within our geocentric model of Earth being our center, Earth, you live on Earth, so you're geocentric in the sense that you're living here now in the realm of Earth or Gaia or Tara, whatever words that you're familiar with, this sacred Earth, these sacred lands. Now, all the stars, they have their cycles within cycles. There's fixed stars, and then there's also planets. And they're actually inside you as well. They're not just outside you, they're a part of your energetic field. So we always like to teach that these planets aren't separate from you. In fact, they are actually qualities within you. They're actually aspects of you, of your energetics.
And that's why, if I may introduce the time of your birth, for example, the moment that you're born, it's as though a photo of the skies is taken, and this becomes the blueprint for your characteristics, for your mannerisms, for your lessons, for what you've come to learn and experience in order to purify the soul, in order to ascend.
Yes, the yogic secrets are that the first breath is actually the last breath of your last incarnation that travels over, and it's the very breath
into your pranic tube.
Yeah, it's the very breath that holds all that intelligent information. And what's in that breath is all the angulations of the broadcast from the stars. So as a baby, as an infant, as you take your first breath, you begin life with a breath and you end life with a breath. And so your first breath literally breathes in that snapshot of the star map. You breathe that into the pranic tube, into your body, and it starts mapping out your energetic circuitries, your biocircuitries inside your physical body and your energetic field. And then over years, the chakras start to develop. You don't have all the chakras at once. The baby actually starts to go through chakra development as that first breath starts seeding all those propensities, all those latent tendencies that are mapped within astrology. Because if you know how to read astrology out of the dualistic model, what we teach an astrology of the golden age, ascension teachings of astrology that says there's a part in your life or a part in a lifetime that you have ascended. So if you have already ascended, this is how you can read your star map in order to show you how you did it. Because everything's recorded from every single incarnation is recorded in your star map. It literally shows everything if you know how to read it and decode it. So when you breathe in that technology of breath, that sacred breath is life. That's where the word spirit actually comes from, inspiration. That's spirit.
The in spirit, the in breath.
The in breath. So in many different languages, the word breath and spirit are actually one, because that spirit, that intelligence, that information is actually recorded, and that breath becomes your life expression. And that's not something that is predetermined by someone else or something else. You decide. You decide your star map. You choose your incarnation before you incarnate. So this is not something about you. You're actually not in control. You are the one that chooses these incarnations. But the caveat is that you lose all your memories because your mind resets. The functional mind, the lower mind of every incarnation resets. But the higher mind, the higher causal body that accesses that higher mind, that actually stays intact. And that's what those subtle bodies is what incarnates every incarnation again and again and again, until you purify all your bodies and your entire body is just one body of light. And this is what liberation happens with liberation, where you activate that rainbow intelligence, that rainbow body, or the golden body, or the immortal body. That body is then purified, where you have no karma, you have no samskara. You don't actually incarnate because you have lessons to learn. You only incarnate to really serve and support a transition for humanity. You only incarnate because of the great compassion you have for the civilization, for the human race, or other sentient lives. And you don't have to also incarnate on this planet. You can incarnate on other planets. So getting back to this topic of the sacred alchemy, is that your physical body is based on the 12th zodiac sign, or the 13th zodiac, if you know about Ophiuchus, which is the secret sign. It's not so much secret anymore. It's come more to more collective awareness. But Ophiuchus is that serpent bearer, which is the ascension sign. When you've already gone through your ascension, then that's the sign that actually accesses the collective ascension.
It's similar to the Ouroboros.
Yes.
In such that it eats its own tail, and so it's immortal. It never begins and it doesn't end.
Yes, if you can recall that symbology in alchemy, the Ouroboros, where it's the serpent or the dragon, that's the symbol of infinity. It's a symbol of creation and transformation and transfiguration. And so that's what Ophiuchus represents once you access it. But you have to go through the 12 zodiacs first. And so this divine design that's embedded within every human experience, every single month, there's a specific initiation that you go through. And if you look at if you're familiar with astrology, you don't have to be to understand what we're saying. We're going to really simplify this for you. But the ones that are familiar with astrology can be really, really divided into 4 quadrants: the mental body, the emotional body, the physical body, and the spiritual bodies. And if you understand that every positioning of a planet, every transit of a planet is also a transition in life. It's also an initiation in life. And so every single month, depending upon where your ascendant and where your moon sign and where your sun sign is at, and if we want to go a little bit deeper, also where Venus is, which represents your emotional body, where Mars is, which represents your physical body, where Mercury is, which represents your mental body, and where the sun and moon play out, which represents the faculty of your personality and your attention in life and your identity in life and your belief of life in the world. So now
we teach this in something called the alchemy of ascension.
Yes, and what we're doing, by the way, we're literally comprising a 12-month program into an hour slot. So we're doing our best to really comprise everything that we normally take a year to take people through every single initiation. So you have a roadmap of what actually happens through your ascension journey.
That's right. Every single month, everyone on the planet undergoes a galactic initiation.
Yeah, which is either known or unknown. You go through these initiations, whether you're aware of them or you're not. And they play out through the initiation to perfect, to evolve your mental body and your mental responses. So you can, instead of think with your mind, you actually feel with your mind and you think with your heart. So you feel love with your mind and you think love within your heart. You actually change the correspondence of the mind and the heart. So this is a little practice because the brain is actually an antenna for the supreme intelligence of the heart. That's the sort of the first quadrant that you go through, those initiations around the mental body. The emotional body is really understanding the deep excavation, excavating all of the emotional triggers, all the upsets, all the hang-ups that happen that trigger you, is to purify those emotions. So those emotions actually become a cultivation of actually directing that divine thought in through your emotions and expanding that for full capacity to actually unlock the true power of emotions and not allow your emotions to deplete you, not to allow your emotions to upset you or actually allow you wavering in life. They keep you very fortified and convicted on the path of a true, authentic spiritual journey. And then the physical initiations all around perfecting the physical body, perfecting the alchemy. And that's what we're going to go into in a moment, the deep alchemy of the physical body. And then the spiritual bodies is actually integrate those spiritual bodies, those spiritual gifts, like the telepathy and telekinesis.
All the tellers,
all the clairs, the clair or clear senses, when you can have clairaudience or clairvoyance.
clairsentience.
Yes, all the different, and these aren't, there's generally one that stands out for you. There's generally
a dominant.
There's generally a dominant faculty, but when you perfect your alchemy, all of these become accessible. You have all your gifts, but the trick is this: you can't activate them for self-gain, because if you do, you lose it. You activate them from the purity of wanting to be of service, want to be a conduit of service. And so as you go through this process, it's happening every single month. There's a divine intelligent design. And this breaks down on every single level of creation, from the gaseous level to the mineral level, to the plants kingdom, to the animal kingdom, to the human kingdom or queendom, to the angelic, to the devic, and more. It goes on and on. There's all these different domains of different experience of life, of light, and of consciousness. And so your physical body is a manifestation of every single plane of existence, every single dimension of existence is based in it. Now, you may not have access to all densities or dimensions, and we use those words, dimension and density.
Not really interchangeably, but we are now.
We are in this moment. We like to use density because it shows the different levels of vibration. Dimension can sometimes be confusing because it's about length, width, and depth. And time is also associated with dimension. And that they don't change. When you go into different realms or domains, those three dimensions, or those four dimensions, if we want to include time, stay the same. You have that in your experience. You have a physical instrument and you experience those realities. So getting back to this divine design, inside you as well, the building blocks of your human divine instrument is made up of 12 sacred salts. These salts, what is salt?
Crystallized light.
Yes, and it's also where the word salvation also comes from. Salt, salvation, and that's understanding that when you have deficiency in these salts, in these biochemistries, the body doesn't absorb the light intelligence that's necessary in order for that ascension process to happen. However, when it does, everything happens spontaneous.
And also these salts, when a child is born without all of the 12 salts, this is where there are great deficiencies, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, in all levels and layers.
Yeah.
And so, for example, in the Tibetan understanding of the rainbow body, when one leaves and allows the rainbow body to be transitioned, the only thing that's left are these salts and the fingernails, because this is where the nerve endings are.
Yeah, the hair follicles and the fingernails, because your nervous system actually doesn't plug in to your fingernails or your hair. So when that process of the rainbow body activation or transfiguration, that illuminated body of light, when that happens, what remains are the fingernails and the hair follicles and the ash of the physical biology. And that ash is actually made up of these 12 salts, which are the building blocks. So those building blocks, why is there deficiency? Let's answer this question. Why is one born with deficiency? Well, the reason why is because when there isn't a conscious birth, because your sexual chakras,
or a conscious conception.
Yes, there's a
let's start with the conception process, right?
Yeah, if there's not a conscious conception, if there's not a conscious birthing from that process, and one doesn't realize the divine science of the sacred sexual organs, that there's certain sacred chakras inside them, when there are those deficiencies of the genetics gets transferred. And what happens is, because there's a digestion process and a manifestation process and a creation process of 9 months that happens for the baby to actually take life, it's missing 3 months in the cycle of each one of those zodiacs, because in the zodiac there's 12. And so those 3 main signs are the main signs that those initiations are basically designed for your life in order to actually learn from them. And when you learn from them, what happens, you're stable in your emotions, you're stable in your mental function, you're stable in your physical biology, and you actually start producing these sacred salts. So as we said earlier, salt is crystallized light. And so the broadcast, if you think of the constellations, as the sun goes through the ecliptic, which is basically, it goes into this infinity spiral. It travels in the symbol of an 8. And the sun goes through its ecliptic. Every single year it does this one journey. And this one journey, every single one of the astrological signs and the zodiacs, the Meseroth that was spoken of in the Bible, that is literally the story of every single story that's ever happened on earth, whether it be the biblical tradition, whether it be the Vedic traditions, whether it be the Zoroastrian traditions, the Egyptian, the Jewish, the Buddhic, every single tradition, every single story throughout antiquity is based on these 12 stories, because it's the only story that we're here to experience. Because the sun, which is one's awareness, one's consciousness, one's light, one's illumination, goes through every single story of every single initiation through time immemorial. And so it's the same thing that happens all the time. And when the sun goes through a specific constellation, that constellation is like a lens for that light of the sun to then send this genetic information that it gets transferred into the biology that then creates the crystallization of light into the cells. So we're giving you a lot right now. Let's take
a moment to talk to Scott and see if
we want to make sure that everyone's following this and everyone's understanding this. We're simplifying again a whole year initiation program to go through in this short space together.
Well, I think it's amazing, and it's wonderful. And I I want to emphasize that this is a homeopathic dose and an invitation to really understand the whole new level of awareness that you have. I mean, for example, I'm 65. I've studied a lot for a long time. There's so much I just learned. I never knew the idea that the last breath from the previous incarnation is connected to the first breath. And that the first breath, as we take that in, is when the snapshot of the astrological, what's happening out there happens. You know, and so much of what I do learn from you and hear from you resonates with what I've already known or already heard, but there's also so much that's new and so much new insight. And I especially appreciate your alchemical understanding and your ability to convey it in a way that we can apply. Now, today is an opportunity for people to really grok, oh my heavens, these two have a remarkable wisdom. But of course, what's very, very important is for people to really, let's learn how to integrate this. Let's learn how to, so we can hear it, but then it's all about integrating it. And I guess while we are on just a little break, because we're going to get back to them in a moment, a reminder that a wonderful way to continue this journey is to go to the website, which is twinray.com, twinray.com. And they have these beautiful 2 apps that they've created. So what you want to do is you want to immediately register, give your name and your email address if you haven't already, and then download their app. And their app is beautiful, and it is a wonderful way to start the journey. But then they also have several courses. I'm learning more about the courses that they offer. We're talking about doing some work together, which I'm very excited about. So this is an introduction to these 2 amazing souls. And I hope that everybody will utilize this introduction as an opportunity to go further into learning how to integrate the wisdom that they're sharing. So that's what I have to say. And I'm going to turn it back over to the 2 of you.
Thank you, beloved Scott. We also have private one-on-one mentorship that if you go to the guidance link, you can see that. And then if beloveds want to learn about our mission, you can go to our mission page and read all about that. And then, of course, you can go to the online courses, and there's loads and loads of really high-level online courses.
And also really simple as well.
And also really simple.
We have
from one spectrum to
hours and hours and hours of free content, just if you want to learn. This, what we're specializing in now is more the alchemy of ascension, that ascension process that happens. But this also relates to one's healing journey, which we also have the Healing Academy. It also relates to astrology, which we have an astrology that teaches you every single initiation that you go through and every single month that happens. And we're actually going to create a certification to teach people literally how to be astrologers and actually how to look at someone's chart and know all of their karma, know all of their lessons, know exactly what to go through, so you can actually take them and mentor them through their journey of life as well. And there's many more that we will be creating to really get these teachings out here, because these teachings are only available in a golden age. And we're now in that golden age. Whether you experience life as a golden age or not, the golden age is here. The grid has been set. It's just going to increase and increase and increase. And so what these teachings offer is a way to really unlock your own divinity and then become a broadcasting beacon, which all of you already are. You are a broadcast. You are a powerful light ship that's sending out love to the entire humanity. Even if you go through your wobbles or your triggers, anything that you overcome, you're doing it for all of humanity. And it's just really important to understand. And this is what we teach with the understanding of genetic liberation, is your journey that you go through, your personal story, your ancestral karma that you go through. All that you're doing is clearing it, not just for yourself, you're doing it for all of the collective. But the great thing is, the more that you raise in your frequency, the more that you embody more light, you actually start offsetting. You're not just one being in a sea of billions.
Right.
You actually become embodiments for millions of people that offsets millions and then billions. And then what happens is that you can actually clear and offset the collective karma in a powerful way. And this is where,
if it's meant to be.
yeah, if it's meant to be. And genetic liberation is about freeing your ancestors, the ones that allowed you to take this incarnation, giving them great appreciation for all the lessons that they learned, all the initiations that they went through, in order to actually, even if they weren't completely conscious of a greater path, but what they did was the best that they knew at the time that they did it. And what this pathway enables for everyone is the opportunity, the divine opportunity to free all your ancestors backwards in time and free the genetic code forwards in time. So no one has to relearn the same scars, the impressions, the karmas, the same scars. They still have their own soul work to do, as every soul has their own personal experience of their soul, but the ancestral karma won't be there. And then that's what a golden age really is when the collective is karmically free. They don't have those impressions. There's truth, and truth reigns supreme. Love reigns supreme. And you're an expression, you're a conduit of that. So getting back to this sacred science, this ecliptic pathway the sun travels through, every journey that's in the biblical tradition, the Vedic traditions, the Buddhic traditions, every single journey of every single deity, of every single prophet, every single sage is all recorded in the stars. And it's all recorded in the cells of your biology.
And it's all recorded in the scriptures in a coded manner.
Yes, and
for a
there's
very important reason.
And there's four main ways to read sacred scriptures, and this is one of our passions. Yes, there's actually 5, but the 5th one is not understand by language; it's just by direct experience. And the first way that one can read ancient scriptures is literal, thinking it's all literally happened exactly the way it's been documented. We're not saying that certain scriptures didn't happen in the past. What we're saying is that the literal translation that's been written is taken for the absolute truth. And that
becomes doctrine.
Yeah, and then that becomes doctrine, and that sometimes becomes dogma as well. Now, just to debunk that a little bit, just think of what you did yesterday. Think of what you did last week. Think of what you did 2 years ago. It's sort of hard to recollect that. Now, most of the scriptures weren't written until 40 years after the events actually took place. And I don't know about you, but what did happen 40 years ago, was a long time ago. And so, not to discredit the sacred scriptures and all that they stand for, but understand that that's just one way of interpretation. And that's more the exoteric model, meaning the exoteric is for more the mass understanding, which teaches you the fundamental principles of how to be a good human.
Exactly. And it's important to share that that's what religion really was created to do. It was to be the outside arm that held the inner teachings.
Yeah.
And the inner teachings is what we specialize in.
Yeah. And
the inner teachings is what religion has perhaps forgotten or kept hidden.
Yeah. And this is the esoteric teachings. And the esoteric, just to understand the word esoteric, means the hidden operations, the hidden meaning, the hidden messages behind the appearance. The esoteric is the underlining understandings of what the apparent expression means. So the second
mysteries.
Yeah, it's the deeper mysteries. And so the second level of interpretation to scriptures or stories or different experiences that have been made doctrine is the astrological and archetypal understanding. Each character in each story, they represent a certain astrological either planet or astrological zodiacal sign or a certain story that's been encoded in the stars.
And in the earth.
And in the earth as well. And also the archetypal reference, the archetypal narratives that each one of one's own psyche identifies from time to time. The archetype of just going through your own initiations and your journeys. And then the third level is what we love to express and share about is the
Alchemical.
So the alchemical level is understanding how the stars and the cells are one, the macro and the micro are one. How understanding and inner standing, truly, we love that word, inner standing, your inner standing with your being. It's an in-perience, not so much an external experience, it's an in-perience. And that becomes the alchemical process that grants personal revelations. It grants divine revelations, universal revelations. And then the fourth level becomes an absolute embodied experience where it's transcendental, where you're out of the five cognitive senses. So how do you experience this? The reason why the intellectual framework is important is because your awareness gets to understand the journey. And when you have the awareness of it, then you know what's possible. So just to teach you a practice is not going to do anything. It's going to give you beautiful emotional experiences and feelings, and it's going to help the restoration process. But if you don't have the intellectual framework, you don't understand the map, then you don't really know where you're going.
Practice without wisdom is only a piece of what is needed.
Exactly. And that's why the Christos Sophia, the divine sacred marriage of the masculine Christ and the feminine Christ, the Christos is understanding the alchemy internally. Sacred oils of anointing. That's what Christ actually is. It's a term. It's a title. It's not just one person. There's a Christ itself within every single one of you, waiting to be reborn as a second coming of that collective expression of that resurrection that takes place. But it's also a sacred substance. It's also a sacred elixir that actually allows that anointing to take place for self-illumination. And the Sophia is the divine wisdom. So the masculine and feminine, the wisdom that happens with that is this beautiful merging, this beautiful dance that happens together. And when that happens together
that's when the dielectric is able to be worked with.
That primordial energy that we spoke about earlier, that neutral, powerful force that creates all of existence, those seals start unwinding inside you and unlocking, and you start actually accessing this powerful, potent energy. And it starts creating these sacred chemistries that then start taking on a whole new form, because the electromagnetic energy gets to a certain point that the vibration actually changes the molecular structure, and it creates new matrices of new enzymes and new hormones and new chemicals in the body. These chemistries inside, these organic chemistries that actually allow all these ancient gifts and these sacred gifts to actually come online.
And this is why the practice of gold, for example, was utilized in ancient Egypt, Kemet, Atlantis. There are reasons for the connection with various elements like gold, because it helps to work with the energy, infuse the energy, and create your own internal elixir at the same time.
When it's bioavailable, gold,
it needs to break through the blood-brain barrier.
Gold itself is a superconductor. So cultivating the whole gold making process that was known in Alexandria and the Hellenistic times of Egypt, when there was this beautiful cauldron in the city of Alexandria, where there was the Greek influence, the Egyptian influence, and the Jewish influence. There's this powerful Mecca, really, in antiquity, of all these sacred sciences. And this science is so ancient, but it has been forgotten. And that's really this science of gold making. There is a literal term of this where it's like literally making gold from lead. And there's also a biochemical process that one goes through as well.
That's known as the Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah, and we're sure everyone's heard of the mythosis of the Philosopher's Stone. Well, it is actually real. There's three different versions of the Philosopher's Stone.
We have all of them.
Yeah, we do actually. And there's a physical Philosopher's Stone, which is actual pure gold, that it can only be made one time a year with certain astrological alignments. And there's also a substance, a sort of a superfood that is actually the red philosopher's stone, that is the stone that actually helps restore and rejuvenate and create longevity. And then there's also the internal process of a sacramental elixir that actually ignites that philosopher's stone inside you. And that's what we love to teach. We love to teach you are that alchemy, and this is how you can do it. And so gold, getting back to gold that's superconductive, that superconductivity, the way to access that is through cultivation. Cultivation is key. To experience all these profound mystical experiences that we're talking about and to become an initiated mystic, meaning that you're a mystic means that you've merged with the mystery of the universe.
But to be initiated is a different story.
When you're initiated, you've gone through the initiations. And so it's not just the direct experience, but you also have the wisdom. You have the knowledge, you have the sacred gnosis of the path, and you have the illumination of the truth that merges together. And that's the ascension in its complete form, where you are an embodiment of the teachings, you're an embodiment of that wisdom, and you're an example of that has been experienced as illumination, enlightenment, that becomes a consistent, not just one experience, it becomes your actual reality. And so the experience to get there is that cultivation and understanding that there is an aspect of you that is already there. The divine nature that is the pure awareness of consciousness, of spirit, is already there. One just needs to be absorbed into that and allow the body, the sacred temple, the sacred vehicle that God dwells, temple where God dwells, to activate that and open that up. So we can
Let's all take a breath.
Yeah.
Felt like a good time.
We can take a breath to that. But the truth
take
for
a
all of this
breath.
to be experienced is just to know that you are so sacred, so sacred, so miraculous that you have this divine technology within you.
You know, and maybe take a sip of water and breathe in this incredible wisdom. You know, there is one thing I'd like to riff on, and then I want to read a couple of comments that have come in from actually your students. But I'm glad that, well, I'm grateful for everything you're sharing. But I wanted to just add a couple of pieces about scripture, because probably most of us who are watching this were raised in the Christian tradition. Not only were the Gospels written long after Jesus, but the whole Bible was rewritten in 321 AD. That's when they chose which books of the Bible would go in. They did not choose many of the more mystical books. They changed the whole relationship of Jesus to Mary Magdalene. I mean, unfortunately, the Bible that we were raised with is very radically different than what was originally written or what was originally desired to be conveyed. And two things. One is, if you really want to get a better sense, they did find a lot of the original books of the Bible that were taken out in their original form in 1947. And the Gospel of Thomas is especially fascinating because it's just quotes from Jesus. It's no story. It's just direct quotes. And it gives you a better sense of who he was and how he thought. And so the Gospel of Thomas is a very interesting book to read. The other thing, just what you mentioned about going through the eye of the needle, and they're actually back in Jerusalem in the day, there was an entrance into Jerusalem that was called the Needle. And if a camel was stacked too high, it physically couldn't make it through. So they would have to take down some of the stacks. So it was actually a literal term that a camel can't go through the eye of the needle. But it's been turned into this idea by many that if you have wealth, or if you're rich, or if you're abundant, I mean, obviously, you know, the eye of a needle on a thread, a camel could never get through there. And so people often have interpreted it to mean that wealthy people cannot make it into heaven. which was a way to keep people in scarcity, when in fact, actually, it was a literal terminology. So it's an interesting little example of how something written in the Bible and then the way we interpret it is radically different from what was meant when it was written. So
Yes, that's a beautiful point, beloved Scott, because also there's this tiny little hole on top of the heart that's literally the eye of the needle inside your own heart. And you can't access that with any baggage of thought.
And that's where the camel comes from.
And the camel holding the thought and the baggage. And if you actually enter into that sacred cave within the heart itself, that sacred chamber within the heart, by going through that eye of the needle, is when you actually start experiencing these universal revelations of somatic states, of transcendental consciousness.
That's when the sacred chambers of the heart start opening, secret chambers of the heart, the human heart.
And you experience heaven in its absolute splendor within you, as within.
I love that. That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I want to read from a couple of your listeners here before we conclude. Linda writes, my whole life has evolved and transformed more than I could ever dream of since I started the teachings and courses 1.5 years ago from the Twin Rays. Beyond words, they are a living example of the divine human walking this earth, reminding us of who we truly are and why we are here. I feel blessed and grateful every day. Thank you, beloveds. And I chose that one. There's so many comments that have come in, but I chose that one because it reflects the sentiments of many and certainly my experience. One other one, Wendy Ann McCarty writes, the Beloved's courses are extraordinary. Their Healing Academy brings in golden age technologies for healing, a new, pristine, divine level of working on all levels of being. Blessings with these divine gifts. So absolutely. And there are so many wonderful people coming in. I just noticed Pia Avia from Iceland. She helped us with one of our presenters that we had. So a reminder that there's a lot more we can learn from the Twin Rays. And so again, you can go to their beautiful, incredible website. Some of the images you see right there are from their gorgeous temple, which I've been blessed to be in over these past few days. And again, it's just twinray.com. And definitely you want to register for their beautiful gifts that they provide. Get involved as you possibly can. You know, this is one other thing I want to mention. Thank you so much for talking about how we can shift our ancestral lineage. That now is a time that we are not just at the mercy or at the reaction to all the stuff that's going on in the world. Obviously, the world is going through a big change, but we can flip it and be the change we want to be.
Absolutely.
And instead of being an absolute reaction, and that's why the tools that they teach and the tools that Deborah and I try and present with all the authors and musicians and people we have on our shows, these are the tools so that we can play our role. We are the ones we've been waiting for. And this is the time we've all been preparing for. And so now is the time to take tools like the Twin Rays are providing and to be proactive and say, okay, this is the time of transformation. This is the time that I can heal my epigenetics, my ancestral lineage, my personal karma, my personal challenges. This is the time that I can play my role in planetary transformation. And each and every one of you listening, you have a beautiful role to play, and you can change the world by applying these beautiful tools. This is our time. And we are so blessed to have teachers who are living it, who are embodiments of the divine human, such as Shekinah and Sananda. So I wanted to say all of that, and I'm going to put the full spotlight on you for whatever else you wish to share.
Thank you,
That
beloved
was
Scott.
beautiful. And yes, absolutely.
Yes, and each and every
Thank
one of
you.
you are truly a divine instrument, a divine being that's here waiting and actively participating for the creation of this new earth. And that new human that's within is coming out. It's coming out. And these are just teachings to support that process, and tools to help that process.
And as we promised you, beloved Scott, and you promised your audience that we would give at least one of our secrets.
We've given many.
Tangible.
Yeah.
Something tangible, a tangible secret. Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah. So what we've all spoken, what really led you on today, our journey, to understand the macrocosm as the microcosm as the macrocosm. So there's no differentiation between the universe and you. You know, that the macrocosmic expression of the totality, the body of all matter, all energy, and all forces within the entire expression of the universe, and your micro version of the universe within you, and that is you. And this is just a science to really unlock and understanding the pathway that's already divinely encoded, and there's already a divine path that's mapped there. And it's the same map in the stars, it's the same process that goes within. And there's just an elevation that needs to take place, there's perspective shifts that take place, and cultivation that helps you actually cultivate not only the knowledge, not only the intellectual framework, but these powerful frequencies. And because right now, the sun has gone through its own rebirth. There's new rays that are coming from the sun. There's
a new codex.
There's a whole new codex, a whole new information, all
that's
light.
Feeding the energy and to create the divine human, and to create the metamorphosis and even the mutations within the DNA and RNA sequencing in order to really allow the physical body to become the light body and become the plasma field.
And if you understand that the earth is within the sun, it's not that the sun's outside of the earth, but the aura presence of the sun is actually, the earth is within that. And that everything on this planet, including you, including us, everything is an extension of that light of the sun, because the genetic codex in the sun is literally sustaining all life on this earth. Without the sun, there would be no life at all. And so that sun is literally, everything that's manifested in nature is an expression and an extension of the light of the sun. And this teaching that we're sharing is about becoming an embodiment of that sun. Becoming a self-generating, self-perpetuating, self-rejuvenating vehicle. And that's what the Christ really means. The Christ energy, the Christ substance, the Christ consciousness is that self-sourcing aspect that actually unlocks and expresses that illumination, that luminosity. Now, all these processes as they go through, again, this is a 12-month process, and it's even really, it used to be taught in 12 years.
Years, exactly.
It used to be taught in 12 years. We've condensed it into 12 months. and this process is a basically how every single body instrument, you have 12 bodily systems, the respiratory, the digestive, skeletal, and so on and so forth. And every endocrine, the nervous system, all those bodies, there's 12 in total. And there's also 12 different limbs if you break them down from the head to your toes, and each corresponds with a specific zodiac, a specific sign, and a specific planetary constellation. And now when you know your sun sign and your moon sign, when you know what zodiacal reference you have within your astrology, and when the sun goes into that moon sign, or the moon goes into that sun sign every single month
for 2.5 days.
For 2.5 days, when that occurs, there's a little mini rebirth that happens inside you. The electromagnetism inside your body actually receives this information that starts a production of certain chemistries that happen inside the cerebrum, at the top of the brain, and it starts coming down
That
the brain.
activates piezo crystals as well inside.
It goes down into the pineal complex and the pituitary. Inside the pineal, there's those piezoelectric crystals, and the piezo is the pressure crystals, basically, because they activate when there's pressure. And so they drip down, and this substance starts going through the circulation of all these different organs. And each organ actually represents planets and a zodiac. So as that goes down, it gets perfected. This sacred elixir, your own personal elixir, gets activated. And so that process, it's an ongoing process. And the cultivation process is just, there's a simple teaching that we can share with you. That when you come into your 12 o'clock, we've shared this teaching many, many times. Just come to 12 o'clock, come into your neutral. And then when you come down into your navel system, and just put your hands, you can just put your hands like this, left hand over right or right hand over left, whatever you wish. And just sit there and allow yourself to feel that energy. And just cultivating that energy within the lower dantian, the sacrum chakra. That energy, as you cultivate that, as you bring your awareness to that energy, noticing that there's this powerful furnace here that's there collecting all of this energy. And if you hold that space and hold your neutrality for a period of time and just meditate on that space during these 2.5 days, then that can actually help gravitate that energy down, circulate it through. And then there is an initiation that we teach, a sacred Christ breath, but we can't teach that over the electronics. We have to be in person to teach that special initiation, it helps that process. But that's the first process, just allow to sit with that cultivation.
And what's really important about these 2.5 days is that this is a time where you really want to hone your energy. You want to make sure that you are eating as purely as possible. You want
fasting.
Absolutely, or fasting if you're capable of doing so. You want to make sure that you're not engaging with caffeine, you're not inhaling or intaking anything that's going to deter the energies from being naturally present for you. This is also a time for celibacy.
Yeah.
Really just a time to be in your own space as much as you can energetically, and really refine the way in which you experience life in those days.
Yeah, and that simple practice that we just led you through is just breathing in through your belly through this time. And if you're letting go of externality during this period of time, body can start cultivating this. And once the first chalice, which literally is what we call that lower dantian, is a chalice, and that chalice fills up, it starts helping the others. And what that does is this sacred substance is very volatile. That's why we suggest not to drink any alcohol and live what's known as a sattvic lifestyle. Sattvic meaning pure in diet. So it's not over.
Pure in intention, pure in deed, pure in word, pure in any way that you can conceive.
Yeah, and what happens during this time, this energy cultivates, and it comes a time where it actually starts accessing in to your DNA and your cells. And this is the sacred substance that actually starts prolonging and extending and elongating your telomeres.
And thus your life, because elongated telomeres is the path to immortality.
And eventually this sacred substance and all these sacred souls, they come into a perfected ratio where they start ascending back all the way up to where they returned. And there's this biofeedback loop. And when that biofeedback loop accesses, then it allows you to have what's known as a mystical experience, a mystic experience, where there's an experience where you just, every single cell of your body becomes a sun, and you experience the light of 100,000 suns. And that supreme splendor resets your entire genetic profile. It liberates backwards in times and forwards in times your entire ancestral tree. And when that happens, that's where you're a walking expression of that Christ, of that Son, of that Solar Logos, of that Sophic knowledge, of that wisdom, that gnosis. And this is, a beautiful path. There's many paths. This is what we've been.
Our offering to you.
This is what we've been initiated to bring back in this incarnation. This is what we've been given the walking stick of truth. And with that,
and the ark of grace.
And with that, what we've created is sacred alchemies that actually help bilingually bring in that gold in order for these sacred substances to actually be cultivated. We haven't allowed them to be shared outside of our retreats as of yet, but we're working towards that, getting these gold elixirs, which is a supplemental form, a micro form of what's known as the Philosopher's Stone, in order to help repair all of the cells and repair all the cellular deficiencies in order for you to have this high cultivation of rejuvenation.
And this is not almost.
Yeah, this is not almost. This is pure gold.
This is well beyond almost.
Yeah.
I want to go back a moment, because you did such a wonderful job of describing all the benefits, but I want us to get the specifics of how we can know what those 2.5 days are. So it's when our moon sign enters if you describe when are those 2.5?
When the moon and sun become one in your sun sign every month for 2.5 days, 3 days, that's when you want to go through fasting, purification. You want to not do any external secreting. You want to make sure you cultivate all that energy, and you want to make sure that you cultivate. Cultivation is key to this practice.
Cultivation is key for rejuvenation. Cultivation is key for liberation. Cultivation is key for really the ascension process.
Yeah, and so everyone has a different alignment during that time, but if you can marry that, but this is the thing, there's a caveat as well, as there always is a safety mechanism built in. There's actually an initiation one goes through every single month that we started, and that's from the emotional and intellectual and an experiential level first. And so there's actually 12 initiations that happen, one every single month. And once you're not in rub, once you're not in friction with yourself, essentially, you're not in friction with your mind, you're not in friction with your emotions, you're not in friction with any physical expression. Once you get that and understand that initiation, what happens, that is the attractor that allows this sacred secretion, this sacred Christos, this sacred golden elixir.
Christos.
Yeah, this is the Christos, or what was known as the Christosopia, or the Christos.
Christopia.
Yeah, the Christopia or the Christos Sophia in ancient Greek, the Greek lexicon.
So for those of us that are like, yes, I want to do this, I want to be part of that 12-month program, I want to know when my 2.5 days are, how do we get that information, and how do we register to be part of your program?
Okay, well, there's two programs that we have. One teaches you all the initiations. It's basically a fundamental platform for understanding astrology from the Golden Age perspective. That's Golden Age astrology. And then our main 12-month initiation process of going through not only the understanding of the sacred alchemy, the body parts, the full in-depth process of initiation, and also understanding understanding the entirety of the ascension journey for all of humanity. That's called ascension alchemy.
But we also have Golden Age energetics, and Golden Age energetics teaches the physiology of the Golden Age, the human for the Golden Age
of the light body.
And that's probably the one we would go with. That one, as well as the ascension alchemy. Ascension alchemy is going to talk about more of what we've been talking about, but the Golden Age energetics is going to teach you about the light body and how to cultivate and give you practices, and we do initiations and activations consistently, and that's created many miracles.
And so to make it very simple for everyone that's listening, is that every single course that we do is literally focused on this process. But these are the three main signature programs that we've just expressed. And if anyone's new and goes, okay, where do I start? This is a lot, this is amazing, but where do I start? GAE, Golden Age Energetics, is literally how to awaken the human divinity. So you get a map of heaven within and how to access that and how to cultivate your light body. That's the foundation. And then all this alchemy becomes very effortless. It's very spontaneous because you first have to have that foundation. And then, yeah.
Okay, so just to guide us through, I'm opening up your website.
Okay, perfect.
I want to do it. I want to do it. So where do I go?
Go to Online Academy.
Go to Online Academy. Okay.
Perfect.
And then
Now
download, of course, the app, right? And then here are the programs.
Yes, scroll a bit.
Scrolling.
So
that's the first one.
That's the first one. Stop. Go up a tiny bit.
Just up, there's GAE, yeah.
There we go. The Golden Age Energetics. There it is. 7-day online course and retreat.
You don't see the image.
There it is.
There it is. It took a moment for it to load.
And so this is going to teach you the alchemy and the physicality of the divine human.
Yeah.
And it was a 7-day online retreat that we created right at the beginning of the pandemic. And it was just pure magic for everyone who was involved.
And this program literally,
it was live. We did it live.
Yeah, this program can be done 7 days, 7 weeks, 7 months. Like it's literally, it's literally one of those things that everyone returns to because it just has so much in it.
And so people can join the program now because of course you're not doing it as a retreat currently, correct?
No, they can join at any time.
Right. Okay. So I've kind of clicked through a couple times. So there it is. Very inexpensive, only $555. And you've got payment programs that are available. So that's the place to start, everybody. Golden Age Energetics, an online retreat. And thank you for letting me just kind of get more specific so people, because it's like we get so excited. We want to know how to do it. So thank you.
Yes. And we're definitely we never really think in terms of, what we just speak. And then, so it's nice that you're able to remember, and if someone wanted to do it.
We don't really advertise ourselves as at all. So it's wonderful that you have. Thank you, beloved.
And we just want to say we have such beautiful praise. What people would call testimonials, we call praise.
Or soul sharing.
So if you go to the praise page, there's literally hundreds of the most beautiful sharings from Golden Age Energetics, from just being with us and all that this beautiful community offers and the teachings offer.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much for your presence in our world, all that you've gifted us with. I want to thank everybody for watching, and a wonderful way to share this out on Facebook. Take this program, it's on Facebook. Most of you are in the Zoom room, but you can easily go to Facebook, go to my profile page, share it out. The YouTube link, we'll have it up on YouTube later today. I've put the Saturday Night Live YouTube channel in there. I'll also post it on my profile on Facebook. And I do want to invite people to next week's Saturday Night Alive. Next week is the 20th anniversary of September 11th. And of course, September 11th, 2001 is one of those days that we all remember where we were and what we were just going on for us when we saw what was taking place. And so we've put together a really special show. We're collaborating with Rick Ulfik, who is the founder of 11 Days of Global Unity, my dear friend Andrew Harvey, who actually wrote a beautiful translation of the Gospel of Thomas, is our keynote speaker. We have Rabbi Michael Lerner, Hazel Henderson, Kurt Johnson, and as always, wonderful music and even a magician. Please join us next week. And our theme is transforming tragedy into rejuvenation. And we will be celebrating the 11 days of global unity, which then takes us into the following Saturday night, the 18th, which is when we're collaborating with the International Weekend of Peace People. So, we are collaborating with really amazing high-level teachers and visionaries from all over the world. And for any of you that are new to Saturday Night Alive and the Global Peace Tribe, make sure you register and join us next week. And one more time, thank you again. Everybody go to twinray.com, then go to the online academy, and then definitely sign up for the Golden Age Energetics. Blessings. Thank you so much, Shakina, Sananda, and thank you everybody for watching.
We'll see you soon, beloved Scott.
You will. I'll be back I'm heading back up the hill to you right after this.
Okay, wonderful.
We'll see you soon.
Okay, see you soon.
Okay, thank you everyone
Thank you,
for joining
beloveds.
us. We send our love and enjoy the sacred day that is